Imagine waking at 3:17 in the morning because the room has become unusually quiet. The electricity is still on. The refrigerator is humming. A streetlight shines through the curtains. Your phone still shows the time, but the weather widget is blank. A message refuses to send. You open a browser and nothing appears. You try another site, then another, and for a few sleepy seconds you assume the problem belongs to your router. Across the city, millions of people are making the same assumption. Routers are restarted. Phones are switched off and on. Office technicians are called from bed. In data centers, warning panels fill with red. At airports, check-in systems stop updating. In hospitals, staff discover that cloud records cannot be reached. At ports, shipping companies lose the screens that show where containers are supposed to go. The machines have not all failed. The world has not gone dark. But the invisible layer that allowed those machines to speak to one another has disappeared. By sunrise, the scale of the event is becoming clear. It is not one provider, one country, or one damaged cable. The global public internet is gone, and it will not return for 365 days. Tonight, we are going to follow that year from its first confused minutes to the morning the connection finally comes back. We will watch what happens to money, food, hospitals, work, schools, travel, science, news, friendship, and ordinary family life. Some parts of the story will feel unexpectedly peaceful. Others will be far more serious than losing entertainment or social media. The internet is not merely a place where people watch videos. It has become part of the control system of modern civilization. Before the story begins, we need one careful rule. The internet is a network of networks, not a single machine with a master switch. It was designed to route around damage, and no known ordinary failure would neatly remove every connection on Earth while leaving everything else intact. A cut cable can isolate a region, but traffic may find another route. A data center can fail, but copies may exist elsewhere. Even a severe solar storm would affect power, satellites, radio, and long conductors in complicated ways rather than simply deleting the internet and nothing else. So this is a controlled thought experiment. For 1 year, the open global internet cannot carry traffic between networks. The routing, naming, long-distance exchange, and cloud connections that make the modern internet feel like one worldwide system no longer function. Electricity continues in most places. Computers still turn on. Files stored locally can still be opened. Over-the-air radio and television can operate. GPS satellites still broadcast positioning signals, although online maps, traffic data, and many navigation services vanish. Some military, aviation, emergency, banking, and scientific networks remain partly functional because they use dedicated systems, private links, radio, or offline procedures. Local networks can be rebuilt inside cities or organizations, but they cannot reconnect the world until the year is over. That distinction matters. If electricity also vanished for a year, this would be a story about the collapse of industrial civilization. If every satellite and radio system vanished too, the consequences would be far more extreme. Our question is narrower and, in some ways, more revealing. What happens when the world still has power, machines, roads, factories, and skilled people, but loses the shared digital fabric that coordinates them? The internet often feels weightless, yet it is built from physical objects. Fiber optic cables cross continents and oceans. Submarine cables, often no thicker than a garden hose, carry almost all intercontinental data. Landing stations connect them to terrestrial networks. Routers decide where packets should travel. Internet exchange points allow networks to meet. Data centers store applications and information. The domain name system translates familiar names into numerical addresses. Routing protocols announce which paths are available. Wireless towers and home Wi-Fi are only the final steps in a structure that may cross thousands of kilometers before a page appears on a screen. No single organization owns all of it. Telecommunications companies, governments, universities, cloud providers, small network operators, and millions of other participants maintain different pieces. That decentralization makes the internet resilient. It also means that a global failure would be extraordinarily difficult to diagnose. There would be no one control room containing a complete map and no one repair crew capable of restoring everything. At 3:17, a family in a coastal city begins the year without knowing any of this. Mara is a nurse in a large hospital. Her husband, Daniel, coordinates shipments for a company that imports medical equipment and machine parts. Their daughter, Lena, is 16 and has never lived in a world where a question could not be answered in seconds. Their son, Tomas, is 10 and mostly understands the outage as the reason his favorite game will not open. Mara's mother, Sophia, lives across an ocean. The family usually speaks to her by video every Sunday. Daniel wakes first. His phone has no data, and the home connection is dead. He checks the television, but the streaming menu cannot load. A small battery radio, kept in a kitchen drawer for storms, still works. At first, the local station is playing recorded music. Then an announcer interrupts. There is a major communications failure. Listeners are asked not to call emergency numbers unless they need immediate help. More information will follow. Mara's hospital calls through an automated telephone system, but the message arrives only after several attempts. Many mobile networks still carry some voice traffic because local parts remain active, yet capacity is limited and modern cellular systems themselves depend on interconnected data networks. Calls begin failing as everyone tries to contact relatives at once. Text messages queue for minutes or hours. Some traditional landlines continue, while many newer home phones that were really internet services fall silent with everything else. Mara dresses and leaves before dawn. At the hospital entrance, security staff are writing names on paper. Employee badges work locally, but the central verification system cannot be reached. Inside, the lights are on and most medical equipment functions. Ventilators, monitors, imaging machines, and laboratory devices do not require the public internet simply to exist. The difficulty is connection. Test results that normally appear automatically in a patient's record must be printed or carried. Prescriptions cannot be sent through the usual channels. Specialists at another hospital cannot open images remotely. Some records are cached locally. Others are stored in systems that staff can no longer reach. The hospital has downtime procedures because digital systems fail even in the real world. There are boxes of paper forms, printed phone lists, radios, and instructions for manual registration. But a procedure designed for several hours is different from a procedure needed for a year. The first morning is dominated by small delays. A nurse cannot confirm a medication history. A laboratory result is delivered to the wrong desk and must be found. A family arrives without knowing which entrance is open. None of these problems sounds dramatic, yet healthcare safety often depends on preventing hundreds of small mistakes from aligning. In the emergency department, a patient arrives unconscious. Normally, staff might retrieve records from another clinic within minutes. Now they rely on a wallet card, a relative's memory, and whatever information is stored inside the hospital. The patient receives care, but every decision takes longer. Mara watches younger colleagues learn why older nurses used to insist that vital information be written clearly, not merely entered into a screen. Outside, ambulances still move. Public safety radio networks continue in many regions, though they face congestion and missing data. Dispatchers lose map layers, automatic vehicle locations, digital building plans, and some connections to hospitals. They can still speak by radio, but the system becomes slower and more dependent on local knowledge. A dispatcher who remembers the streets may be more useful than a perfect database nobody can open. Police, firefighters, coast guards, and emergency managers activate continuity plans. Some organizations have satellite phones or private radio networks. Others discover that equipment believed to be independent still relied on internet-based authentication, remote maintenance, or cloud software. Resilience is not a label attached to a device. It is the ability to continue when assumptions fail, and on this first morning many assumptions are being exposed. Daniel's company occupies 2 floors of an office near the port. When he arrives, the building is crowded with employees who normally work from home. Their shipping platform is unavailable. The cloud-based customer database is gone. Container locations cannot be refreshed. Email is silent. The port itself has not stopped. Cranes can still move, ships can still dock, and trucks can still drive. But the instructions that tell each part what to move, when to move it, and who owns it have become incomplete. A manager opens a cabinet containing old binders. Some procedures date from before the company became fully digital. Paper manifests can be printed from local backups, but only for shipments already in the system. New orders arrive by telephone when calls get through. Staff begin writing every change by hand. Daniel notices how quickly uncertainty spreads. One delayed container may hold a non-essential product or a replacement component needed to keep a hospital machine running. Without reliable data, both look like anonymous metal boxes. At home, Lena keeps trying to message friends. Her phone shows old conversations, photographs, downloaded music, and notes. The device is not useless. It has simply stopped being a window. She can call one friend after several attempts, and they spend the first minute saying the same thing. Nothing works. School has not yet announced whether classes will continue because the announcement system was online. Tomas is delighted for almost an hour. No homework platform means no homework. Then he realizes that the videos he planned to watch are gone too. He opens an offline game, but it requests a license check and refuses to start. The family owns more digital objects than they can actually use without permission from distant servers. By 7 in the morning, radio becomes the fastest reliable source for most people. Traditional broadcasters can transmit without the public internet, though their production systems also suffer. Reporters cannot instantly access international feeds. Studios lose cloud archives and digital communication with correspondents. The first bulletins are short and cautious. The outage is global. Electricity is broadly stable. People should conserve cash, avoid unnecessary travel, and keep telephone lines clear. Television stations that still use terrestrial or satellite broadcast join the coverage. Their maps are older. Their graphics are simple. News anchors read printed statements delivered by courier or dictated over secure lines. In an age accustomed to minute-by-minute updates, the lack of information feels almost physical. Rumors move faster than verified facts because people still have mouths, radios, photocopiers, and fear. One rumor says the outage is a cyber attack and that bank accounts have been erased. Another says a solar storm has destroyed every satellite. A third claims that the internet will return by evening. None is confirmed. Without official websites or trusted accounts to check, authority shifts toward local broadcasters, government briefings, and people who sound confident. The world quickly rediscovers that misinformation did not begin with social media. The internet accelerated rumors, but it also gave people tools to challenge them. Now both the rumor and the correction travel more slowly. Banks become the next focus of anxiety. Money in a modern economy is mostly recorded electronically, but the financial system is not identical to the public internet. Central banks and major institutions operate protected networks, dedicated connections, and contingency procedures. Some high-value settlement can continue. Some banks can communicate through private lines. The deeper problem lies at the edges, where ordinary people use cards, mobile apps, online transfers, payment gateways, fraud checks, and merchant terminals. At a supermarket near Mara's home, card payments work for 20 minutes, then become unreliable. Some terminals are capable of storing small transactions offline, but merchants cannot know whether an account has enough money or whether a card is stolen. Accepting every payment would create enormous risk. Rejecting every payment would prevent people from buying food. The store manager sets a low limit and records card details for later reconciliation, a decision that keeps the line moving but creates a pile of future disputes. Cash machines draw crowds. They still contain money, but network connections and authorization systems fail unevenly. Some banks close machines to prevent uncontrolled withdrawals. Branches open with limited hours and impose cash limits. People who rarely carry banknotes discover that physical currency is not merely an old habit. It is a payment system that can settle a small transaction without asking a distant computer for permission. Cash does not solve everything. There is not enough physical currency to replace every electronic payment immediately. Distributing it requires armored vehicles, staff, security, and records. Checks return, but verifying them is slow. Local governments and banks begin discussing temporary vouchers, paper payment certificates, and controlled offline cards. Every solution creates questions about fraud, fairness, and what happens when digital records return. Financial markets pause. Exchanges depend on synchronized data, electronic orders, and connections among participants. Keeping them open in a fragmented communications environment would reward whoever retained the best private links and could destabilize prices. Trading halts in many countries. Businesses can no longer assume that invoices will be paid on the usual schedule. Payroll systems fail. Governments promise emergency guarantees, but the promise itself must travel by radio and newspaper. The first day reveals a strange fact about money. People speak of it as though it were an object, yet much of its power comes from shared records and shared trust. A bank balance is useful because many institutions agree on what it means. When those institutions cannot compare records quickly, money does not disappear, but confidence becomes slower. Food remains in warehouses. Fuel remains in tanks. Medicines remain in distribution centers. The immediate challenge is not that the world has run out. It is that the systems that match supplies to demand can no longer see the whole picture. Modern supply chains are built around continuous data. Stores report sales. Warehouses calculate inventory. Factories schedule components. Shipping lines track containers. Customs agencies exchange documents. Trucks receive routes. A product may cross several borders and dozens of organizations before reaching a shelf. The internet did not create trade, but it made this complexity manageable at high speed. On the first day, trucks already loaded continue to move. Ships already at sea continue toward port. Trains follow schedules stored locally. The visible world looks almost normal. The disruption hides in tomorrow's decisions. Which truck should be sent next? Which factory is missing a component? Which shipment should be prioritized? How much food is actually available in each city? A system optimized to carry little spare inventory has less room for uncertainty. Supermarkets experience panic buying before genuine scarcity. Batteries, bottled water, fuel, cash, baby formula, and shelf-stable food disappear first. Some purchases are sensible. Others create the shortage people feared. Radio stations ask listeners to buy only what they need. The request works in some communities and fails in others. Daniel spends the afternoon building a paper map of critical shipments. Hospitals send lists by fax where fax lines still function, by telephone, and sometimes by messenger. Port officials create priority categories: medicine, food, fuel, water treatment chemicals, industrial parts, and everything else. The categories sound clear until a factory explains that one small machine part is needed to produce packaging for sterile medical supplies. Complex systems are full of objects that appear unimportant until they are absent. At sunset, Mara returns home exhausted. The family has heard from everyone nearby except Sophia across the ocean. International calls are almost impossible. The video service is gone, email is gone, and even if a telephone route exists, it is overwhelmed. Mara knows her mother is probably safe, knowing that is not the same as hearing her voice. They eat a simple dinner by electric light. The house still has water and power. Streetlights still glow. Cars move outside. The internet's disappearance has not made the city medieval. It has made it uncertain. After dinner, Lena asks how long this will last. Daniel repeats the official statement, "Nobody knows." Tomas asks whether school will be canceled forever. Mara laughs for the first time that day and tells him not to be hopeful. The family places the battery radio on the table. At 9, the national broadcaster summarizes what is known. The outage is worldwide. Engineers are working to establish regional connectivity and understand the damage. Essential services are moving to emergency procedures. Citizens are asked to write down important telephone numbers, keep identification and medical information available, and check on neighbors who may need help. Then the announcer reads a message that would have seemed absurd the day before. Tomorrow morning, printed public notices will be posted at schools, libraries, municipal buildings, transit stations, clinics, supermarkets, and post offices. The first day of the disconnected year ends with millions of people planning to look for information on a wall. On the second morning, the city wakes earlier than usual. People who once checked messages before leaving bed now listen for the top of the hour on the radio. Outside schools and municipal buildings, workers tape printed pages behind glass. The notices contain bus changes, bank opening hours, emergency numbers, and instructions for collecting food assistance. A crowd forms around each sheet. Someone reads aloud for those standing too far away. School is open. Lena considers this a personal betrayal. Her school can no longer use digital attendance, cloud documents, online textbooks, or messaging platforms. Yet the building, teachers, desks, and printed books remain. Classes begin late. Teachers spend the first hour creating telephone trees and writing home addresses on paper. Students are told to bring notebooks, pens, and any printed textbooks they still own. The library becomes part of the emergency plan. Its computers cannot reach the outside world, but its shelves still contain reference books, atlases, repair manuals, medical guides, language dictionaries, newspapers, and local records. The librarians begin creating information desks for questions that once disappeared into search bars. They post business hours, transport changes, and verified public announcements. The building is crowded before lunch. Tomas's teacher explains that homework will continue on paper. Several children stare at the photocopied worksheet as though it were an artifact. The school owns printers, but toner and paper will become important supplies if digital systems remain unavailable. Teachers begin planning lessons that require fewer copies. Chalkboards, shared textbooks, oral presentations, handwriting, and memory become more valuable overnight. Education does not simply return to a charming earlier age. Many schools no longer own enough printed books for every student. Research databases and digital archives are inaccessible. Students with visual, hearing, mobility, or learning needs lose online tools that provided independence. Translation services disappear. Families who depended on school apps for communication may not receive information quickly. A system built around constant connectivity cannot reverse itself by nostalgia alone. Universities face an even stranger problem. Laboratories still contain equipment. Researchers still know how to think. But journals, code repositories, shared datasets, remote instruments, and international collaborations become difficult to reach. Some institutions have local copies and private links. Others discover that years of knowledge were licensed through platforms rather than physically owned. A student can stand inside a magnificent library and still be unable to open the article needed for a thesis. Printed journals begin circulating again, but no printing industry can instantly reproduce the scale of modern scientific publishing. Universities organize courier routes and telephone conferences. Researchers send data on physical drives by train or air. Work continues, slower and with greater inequality. A wealthy institution with extensive local archives can do more than a small laboratory whose entire literature collection was online. Daniel's office also returns to paper, but the change exposes a deeper dependency. Many employees cannot simply come back to a building. Some live hundreds of kilometers away because remote work allowed companies to hire globally. Their jobs cannot be performed by mail at anything close to the previous speed. Software companies, online retailers, digital advertising firms, streaming services, web designers, cloud consultants, online educators, and countless independent creators lose much of their market at once. Some organizations survive by changing purpose. A digital marketing agency helps local businesses design printed catalogs and radio announcements. A web developer joins a municipal team building a local intranet that connects hospitals and public offices inside the city. A video editor begins producing programs for broadcast television. The skills are not useless, but the economic structure that paid for them has shifted. Other businesses cannot adapt. An online shop with no physical storefront has inventory, but no way to reach most customers. A platform connecting drivers to passengers disappears, even though the cars and drivers remain. Restaurants lose delivery apps and digital reservations. Hotels lose international booking systems. Freelancers lose clients they have never met and may not know how to contact outside a platform. Unemployment rises quickly, even while other sectors need workers. Postal services, call centers, printing companies, radio stations, libraries, cash handling, local retail, repair shops, transport offices, and public administration begin hiring. The match is imperfect. A person who managed global software projects cannot instantly become a trained dispatcher. Retraining takes time, and the jobs appearing may pay less than the ones lost. Governments declare temporary financial measures. Evictions and some debt payments are paused. Banks extend deadlines. Employers receive support for keeping workers. Benefits are distributed through branches, post offices, local offices, and paper certificates. The programs move slowly because the same digital systems normally used to identify recipients and prevent duplication are unavailable. This creates a painful trade-off. Strict verification delays help for people who need it. Loose verification invites fraud. Local officials must make decisions using incomplete records. In some places, communities accept the uncertainty and focus on preventing hunger. In others, fear of abuse becomes an excuse for leaving people without support. For Mara's family, the first week is less dramatic than the first day and more exhausting. Every simple task requires preparation. Daniel cannot glance at live train times. Lena cannot check whether a shop is open. Mara cannot send a quick photograph of a prescription to a relative. The family writes lists because information cannot be retrieved whenever it is needed. They find an old road atlas in a cupboard. It is 7 years out of date, but the main roads still exist. GPS receivers and phones can still calculate position from satellite signals in some cases. Yet the familiar map applications rely on downloaded data, online search, and current traffic information. Devices with offline maps remain useful. Everyone else rediscovers printed maps, road signs, and the experience of missing a turn without a calm voice immediately offering another route. Transport continues, but less efficiently. Traffic lights operate locally. Trains run on control systems that are not simply the public internet. though planning, ticketing, maintenance records, and passenger information are disrupted. City buses post fixed schedules. Ride-hailing vanishes. Taxi ranks return. Commuters begin sharing cars through workplace notice boards and neighborhood arrangements. Air travel is reduced sharply during the first days. Aircraft do not need ordinary web pages to remain in the sky, and air traffic control uses specialized communication, navigation, and surveillance systems. But airlines depend on complex networks for reservations, crew scheduling, maintenance records, weather information, baggage, fuel planning, and coordination across borders. Flights resume gradually on simplified schedules. Paper tickets and travel agents return, but capacity remains lower and delays are common. International travel becomes expensive and uncertain. Passengers cannot easily compare routes or confirm a hotel. Border agencies lose access to some databases. Visas and identity checks slow. Tourism collapses in many places, adding hotels, restaurants, airlines, museums, and entire regional economies to the growing list of casualties. The postal system becomes the new long-distance social network and immediately discovers that it was not sized for the task. Letters, bills, bank statements, catalogs, forms, medical notices, photographs, and business documents flood sorting centers. Postal workers are hired. Delivery slows under the volume. International mail faces additional delays because transport and customs are also disrupted. Mara writes to Sophia on the third day. The letter feels inadequate because it cannot ask a question and receive an answer. She explains that they are safe, that the children are annoyed rather than frightened, and that the hospital is functioning. She includes the family's telephone number, even though she does not know whether an international call can reach them. At the end, she writes a sentence she would never have included in a quick message. I realize now how often I felt close to you simply because I knew I could reach you at any moment. She does not know when the letter will arrive. Telephones become precious, but the word landline no longer guarantees independence. Many modern fixed phones are voice over internet services. Traditional copper lines survive in fewer places than people assume. Mobile networks may carry local voice traffic while losing broader connectivity, but they are not separate from digital infrastructure. Carriers establish emergency voice routes, prioritize essential users, and limit call duration during busy hours. Businesses install shared telephone desks. Families write numbers beside the phone. Public call points appear in libraries, stations, and municipal buildings. Telephone directories are printed for essential local services. People begin calling at agreed times because leaving a message is not always possible. Conversation changes under scarcity. A call cannot be interrupted by 10 incoming notifications, but it may also be cut off by congestion. People speak more deliberately. They arrange the next call before ending the current one. A missed call feels larger because there may not be another opportunity for hours. News settles into a daily rhythm. Newspapers expand editions but face shortages of paper, ink, and delivery capacity. Radio becomes the fastest mass medium. Television returns to scheduled broadcasting for households with working receivers and local signals. International reporting relies on dedicated lines, satellite links, shortwave radio, diplomatic channels, and correspondents physically carrying recordings and notes. This slower system can support careful journalism, but slowness does not guarantee accuracy. Editors have fewer sources to compare. Governments can control broadcast infrastructure more easily than millions of independent sites. In countries with weak press freedom, the outage becomes an opportunity to restrict information. Underground newspapers, amateur radio, photocopied bulletins, and whispered reports return. Local knowledge gains importance. People learn the names of reporters they trust. A radio meteorologist becomes one of the most recognizable voices in the region. A librarian who verifies public notices gains more practical influence than a former online celebrity whose audience has vanished. Weather forecasting continues, but with reduced global coordination. National meteorological agencies operate observation networks, satellites, radar, and specialized data exchange systems that are not identical to ordinary consumer internet access. Some secure links remain. Other stations, especially in poorer or remote regions, depended heavily on affordable internet connectivity. Missing observations create gaps in models. Forecasts become less precise in some places, particularly over oceans and across borders. The consequences are not evenly distributed. A commuter may simply carry an umbrella more often. A fishing boat may lack an accurate storm update. A farmer may plant before an unexpected frost. Emergency managers may receive less warning of a rapidly intensifying event. The loss of one observation rarely decides a forecast, but global forecasting is built from millions of observations shared quickly. Fragmentation makes uncertainty larger. During the first week, a major storm approaches the coast near Mara City. The forecast is good enough to provide warning, but updates arrive less often. Radio stations repeat evacuation instructions. Printed maps show shelters. Volunteers knock on doors where residents may not have heard the announcement. The city manages, partly because the storm is not the worst possible test, and partly because people understand that information must now be carried physically to anyone outside the broadcast network. Hospitals prepare with the same mixture of modern equipment and older procedure. Mara helps print patient lists before the storm, knowing that the local network might fail if power fluctuates. Staff write allergies and medications on cards attached to beds. The process is slower, but it makes critical information visible without a screen. The storm damages several phone lines and interrupts electricity in 2 neighborhoods. In the connected world, residents would have posted photographs and requested help through apps. Now they walk to a fire station, use radio, or send a neighbor. Requests are less visible to the whole city, but more visible to the people physically nearby. By the end of the week, the first emotional shock has passed. The practical shock has not. People stop expecting the internet to return every hour. That small change matters. During the first days, every inconvenience feels temporary, so nobody wants to invest in a slower alternative. Once officials announce that restoration may take many months, organizations begin rebuilding routines rather than waiting. Municipalities create local data networks connecting hospitals, emergency services, utilities, schools, and government offices. These are not the global internet. They are controlled regional systems using surviving fiber, radio links, and private infrastructure. Engineers restore local email, file sharing, and directories inside defined boundaries. A hospital can exchange records with another hospital in the same region even if neither can reach the world. Companies do the same. Factories connect offices to warehouses. Universities create regional academic networks. Newspapers establish digital production systems that end at printing presses rather than websites. The disconnected world does not become analog. It becomes a patchwork of digital islands. This patchwork creates new inequalities. A city with skilled engineers, spare equipment, reliable power, and public funding can build a useful local network. A rural region may depend on radio and paper for months. A large corporation can lease private lines. A small business cannot. A wealthy hospital may keep local copies of records and journals. A small clinic may have lost access to nearly everything stored remotely. The outage reveals that connectivity was not one service shared equally. It was layers of access, ownership, backups, and technical power. When the common layer disappears, those differences become harder to ignore. By the second week, the global economy begins feeling shortages caused not by empty farms or silent factories, but by broken coordination and missing components. A modern factory may need thousands of parts from hundreds of suppliers. If one specialized sensor, chemical, or circuit board fails to arrive, the finished product stops. The missing object may cost only a few dollars and still halt a production line worth millions. Companies respond by simplifying. Manufacturers produce fewer models. Repair shops salvage parts. Engineers redesign products around components available locally. Governments temporarily relax some standards while trying not to compromise safety. The economy becomes less efficient and, in certain ways, more inventive. Daniel's company discovers a warehouse containing older compatible parts that had been scheduled for disposal. In the connected world, the parts were economically irrelevant because replacements could be ordered quickly. Now they keep 2 clinics and a water treatment plant operating. The value of an object changes when the network around it changes. Food systems adapt in similar ways. Large stores reduce variety. Local producers gain importance. Seasonal food becomes more visible. Imported luxuries disappear from many shelves. Restaurants change menus according to what arrives rather than what customers expect. There is enough food globally, but access becomes uneven. Landlocked regions dependent on long supply chains suffer more. Cities with little storage face pressure. Conflict zones and poor countries experience the most severe consequences because they had the least redundancy before the outage. Wealthy households can buy in bulk. Poor households cannot. A disruption that feels like inconvenience in one neighborhood can become hunger in another. Governments create priority freight corridors for food, medicine, fuel, and water treatment chemicals. Railways and ports receive military or civil defense support. Paper manifests are standardized. Radio frequencies are assigned to logistics. People who once seemed like invisible administrative workers become essential to national survival. Agriculture itself continues. Tractors still run if they have fuel and do not depend on remote software authorization. Irrigation pumps still move water. Seeds still grow. But farmers lose online markets, weather services, parts ordering, remote sensors, digital payment, and precision systems. Some advanced machinery enters restricted modes when cloud connections fail. Manufacturers send technicians with offline updates and paper manuals. Farmers return to local cooperatives for information and purchasing. Agricultural extension offices print guidance and broadcast advice. Neighbors share equipment. The change is not a return to a romantic past. Modern farming still depends on fertilizer, fuel, machinery, transport, finance, and science. The year demonstrates that local knowledge and global systems were never opposites. Food security depended on both. Medicine faces its first serious supply shortages. Hospitals can continue treating patients, but many drugs and disposable supplies come through international chains. A missing reagent can stop a laboratory test. A delayed filter can idle a dialysis machine. A shortage of packaging can prevent a medicine from being distributed safely. Health authorities publish priority lists. Elective procedures are postponed in some regions. Pharmacies limit quantities. Doctors substitute older medicines when newer ones are unavailable. Counterfeit products appear, and verifying them is harder without digital databases. At Mara's hospital, the most frightening shortage is not a dramatic machine. It is a particular sterile tube used every day. The supplier has stock, but the warehouse cannot confirm shipping documents across borders. Daniel recognizes the product name from the hospital's priority list. He spends 2 days locating the container and another day persuading 3 organizations to accept matching paper records. When the shipment finally arrives, nobody celebrates publicly. A nurse signs a form. A driver leaves. Patients never know how close an ordinary tube came to becoming a crisis. That is how the disconnected year often works. The greatest successes are events that do not happen. The first weeks also teach people to separate the internet from the basic utilities surrounding them. A streetlight does not usually ask a website for permission before turning on. Water can still move through pipes. Sewage can still be treated. Power stations can still generate electricity. These systems use local controls, specialized operational networks, radio, and human operators. Although modern utilities also depend heavily on remote monitoring, digital coordination, weather data, software support, and outside suppliers. During those first weeks, most utilities continue because their core machinery remains intact. The danger grows when equipment fails. A technician may need a manual stored on an unreachable portal. A replacement controller may be configured by a vendor in another country. A sensor may still measure pressure while the central dashboard that compared hundreds of sensors is unavailable. Operators compensate with more site visits, manual readings, and conservative settings. As the weeks pass, water companies ask households to report leaks by telephone or in person. Meter readings are estimated. Treatment plants keep larger stocks of essential chemicals after the first supply disruptions. Power grids operate with reduced forecasting and less flexible coordination among regions. They can still balance supply and demand, but they carry wider safety margins and postpone maintenance that requires unavailable parts. Small interruptions become more common over the following months. One neighborhood loses water for half a day because a damaged valve was detected later than it would have been through remote monitoring. A rural area experiences repeated power cuts while technicians search for a fault. These are not signs that utilities have collapsed. They are reminders that reliability was built from thousands of invisible measurements and maintenance decisions. Homes reveal a smaller version of the same problem. Ordinary lamps, ovens, refrigerators, and washing machines continue working if their controls are local. Some smart appliances lose remote features but retain basic buttons. Others behave badly because designers assumed constant cloud access. A thermostat may keep the last schedule. A security camera may record locally but cannot notify its owner. A door lock that depends on remote authentication becomes an expensive obstacle until a technician resets it. Consumers become less impressed by intelligence that disappears with connectivity. Repair shops publish lists of products that remain functional offline. New local regulations require mechanical overrides for locks, heating, medical equipment, and other essential devices. The phrase smart begins to acquire a second question. Smart under what conditions? Even pets experience the change through the systems around them. Automatic feeders may work on stored schedules, while connected models lose remote control. Tracking collars become local radio devices instead of map icons. Owners spend more time at home during unemployment or reduced work, though others work longer in emergency roles. Dogs do not understand the loss of global routing. They understand that walks happen at different times. These details keep the scenario grounded. The internet is not electricity, water, machinery, or human skill. Yet each of those systems had learned to lean on it. Removing the network does not switch the physical world off. It makes the physical world require more attention. That extra attention becomes one of the defining costs of the year. A utility worker must drive to a site once monitored remotely. A homeowner must check a meter. A technician must understand a machine without calling the manufacturer. A community must notice the leak, the dark street, or the elderly neighbor whose heating has failed. The systems continue because people keep looking. By the end of the first month, the year has acquired a new calendar. People still use ordinary dates, but they also speak of day 12, day 21, and the first month offline. Events are measured from the moment the network vanished, the way communities measure time from a storm, a war, or a blackout. The economy has entered a deep recession. Not every industry stops, but nearly every industry becomes less productive. Offices lose cloud software and remote collaboration. Retail loses online sales, and automated inventory. Advertising loses its largest channel. Financial services slow. International trade becomes uncertain. Tourism contracts. Technology companies built around permanent connectivity lose their reason to exist, at least temporarily. The damage cannot be calculated simply by multiplying the cost of a one-day outage by 365. Economies adapt. New systems appear. Some lost output is delayed rather than destroyed. Some work moves to other sectors. But the scale remains enormous. The internet was embedded not only in visible online businesses but in scheduling, accounting, maintenance, procurement, design, research, training, and communication throughout the economy. Prices rise for goods that depend on long supply chains. Local products may become cheaper relative to imports, but shortages and transport costs often push prices upward overall. Wages become less reliable. Governments borrow heavily to support households and critical industries. Inflation, unemployment, and scarcity create political tension. Crime changes rather than simply rising or falling. Many forms of online fraud, ransomware, account theft, and digital extortion collapse immediately because their channels are gone. At the same time, cash handling increases, black markets grow around scarce products, forged documents become valuable, and economic hardship can increase theft. Law enforcement loses databases and digital evidence while gaining relief from some cybercrime. The result differs from place to place. Organized crime adapts quickly. Groups with trusted couriers, cash, warehouses, radios, and established relationships possess advantages in a fragmented world. Smuggling routes that once moved drugs or contraband can move scarce medicine and computer parts. Governments struggle to distinguish informal resilience from criminal control, especially where official distribution fails. Political life becomes more local and more vulnerable to control. National leaders can address populations by broadcast, but citizens cannot respond through the same mass channels. Demonstrations are organized through workplaces, neighborhoods, unions, religious groups, and printed notices. Governments that relied on online surveillance lose some tools, while governments controlling radio, printing, and telephone systems gain others. In open societies, town halls and local meetings grow crowded. People need explanations, and they can no longer release frustration into a comment thread. Officials must answer questions in rooms containing the people affected by their decisions. This can strengthen accountability. It can also produce anger, rumor, and pressure on local workers who did not cause the crisis. Elections remain possible. Many countries already use paper ballots and in-person voting. The challenge lies in registration databases, campaign communication, overseas voting, rapid reporting, and public trust. Election authorities print records, extend deadlines, and count slowly. Results may take days or weeks. A slow count is not necessarily an inaccurate count, but a population trained to expect instant totals may find the silence unsettling. Campaigns return to rallies, television, radio, newspapers, posters, telephone calls, and door-to-door organizing. Wealthy candidates can buy broadcast time. Grassroots movements rely on volunteers. False claims spread through pamphlets and speeches rather than viral posts. The technology changes. The human appetite for persuasion does not. International diplomacy continues through embassies, secure telephones, radio, couriers, dedicated government networks, and in-person meetings. The internet had made communication faster, but states did not abandon every older channel. Still, the loss of rapid data exchange increases uncertainty during crises. A photograph, intelligence report, or diplomatic instruction may take longer to verify. Leaders face pressure to act before the full picture arrives. Slower communication can create time for reflection, but it can also create dangerous gaps. History contains both kinds of examples. A delayed message may prevent an impulsive response, or it may allow a misunderstanding to grow. The safety of the disconnected world depends less on slowness itself than on whether institutions preserve trusted channels and procedures. Science moves into a slower rhythm as well. Experiments continue. Telescopes collect data locally. Laboratories run instruments. Field researchers take measurements. The obstacle is comparison. A scientist may not know that another group has already produced a similar result. A software bug cannot be checked against a global community. A large dataset cannot be transferred easily. Collaboration becomes limited by physical media and travel. Researchers begin sending hard drives in padded cases. Universities establish data trains and courier flights. Journals print shorter issues containing the most urgent results. Conferences become more important because they allow information to be exchanged in person. Scientists arrive carrying drives, notebooks, samples, and questions accumulated over months. This slows discovery, but it also changes what receives attention. Researchers work longer with the data already available. Some repeat experiments that would once have been abandoned after a quick literature search. Duplication wastes resources, yet replication can also reveal weak results. The year produces fewer published papers and perhaps a slightly different relationship with certainty. Medical research suffers particularly because clinical trials, safety monitoring, and international disease surveillance depend on timely data. Regulators create regional reporting systems. Pharmaceutical companies send records physically. Urgent findings travel through government and medical radio networks. The system can function, but delay matters when patients are waiting. Public health surveillance becomes less sensitive. Hospitals can report unusual cases by telephone or radio, but combining thousands of local signals is difficult. A small outbreak may remain invisible longer. Authorities urge clinicians to report unusual clusters directly. The success of this system depends on training, trust, and whether anyone has time to notice a pattern amid daily pressure. The first major disease scare arrives during the second month. Several towns report a severe gastrointestinal illness. Rumors claim contaminated imports, deliberate poisoning, and a new pandemic. Without online dashboards, the public sees only fragmented reports. Laboratories eventually identify the cause as a bacterial contamination linked to one processing facility. Radio and newspapers publish the affected product codes. Volunteers post notices in shops. The outbreak is contained, but more people become ill than they would have in a fully connected system because tracing and recall took longer. The event changes public behavior. Households begin keeping written records of medicine, allergies, and emergency contacts. Food producers print clearer batch information. Local health offices establish dedicated broadcast times. Society does not regain the internet, but it improves its ability to function without it. At home, Mara creates a folder containing the family's medical information, identification copies, bank records, school contacts, and Sophia's address. She is embarrassed that they never had one before. Daniel points out that they did have all those things, simply scattered across applications and accounts. The folder is not new information. It is information they can possess without asking a server to return it. Lena finds the folder unsettling. Her generation had been taught to protect personal data by hiding it behind passwords. Now the family is carrying sensitive records on paper. Privacy has not disappeared, its risks have changed. A stolen folder is visible to whoever holds it. A stolen database was visible to someone across the world. Neither system is automatically safe. During the second month, the city opens a local electronic bulletin network. Residents can access it from terminals in libraries, schools, and municipal buildings. It contains transport schedules, public notices, job listings, local news, and a directory. Homes cannot connect directly yet, and the network does not reach outside the region. For Lena, The terminal feels like the oldest version of the internet she can imagine. There are no infinite feeds, videos, or personalized recommendations. Information is arranged in plain categories. She has 10 minutes because people are waiting. She looks up a school notice, checks whether a music shop has reopened, and logs out. Engineers debate whether to allow public messaging. A local message board could help communities organize, but it would require moderation, storage, identity rules, and protection from abuse. The debate reveals how quickly the old questions return. A network is not merely cables and protocols. It is a set of social decisions about who can speak, who can listen, and who is responsible when something goes wrong. Some cities build public local networks. Others restrict them to government and business. Private companies offer access to wealthy customers through surviving links. The world fragments into different levels of connectivity, creating a new kind of border. Two people living 100 kilometers apart may inhabit completely different information environments. The phrase internet disappearance becomes less precise with every month. The global internet remains absent, but digital communication has reappeared inside islands. A university can exchange data with nearby hospitals. A corporation can connect regional offices. A family may use a neighborhood messaging system. What is missing is the ability to assume that any compatible device can reach any other across the world. That global quality was easy to take for granted because it had no obvious sound. The disconnected year teaches people that universality was one of the internet's greatest achievements. The social consequences become clearer as the novelty fades. For some people, the absence of social media brings relief. There are no constant notifications, public performance metrics, breaking controversies, or endless comparisons with carefully selected moments from other lives. Evening anxiety decreases for some. Sleep improves when late-night scrolling is no longer available. Attention that once jumped among messages, feeds, and tabs begins to settle. The evidence about digital life had never supported one simple claim that the internet was either destroying or improving mental health. Effects depended on age, purpose, intensity, platform design, existing vulnerability, and what online activity replaced. The disconnected year makes this complexity visible. A teenager bullied through social media may feel an immediate release. Another teenager who found acceptance only in an online community may feel abandoned. A parent stops comparing their home to polished images and becomes calmer. A lonely older adult loses daily contact with friends. A worker no longer answers messages at midnight, but also loses employment. The same absence can heal one wound and create another. People with disabilities and chronic illness experience some of the harshest consequences. The internet had provided telemedicine, remote work, delivery, accessible communication, navigation, captions, screen readers connected to online information, and communities built around rare conditions. Local services attempt to replace these functions, but physical infrastructure is uneven. A person who cannot easily leave home may not benefit from a lively town square. A patient with a rare disease cannot find an equivalent support group within walking distance. A deaf person may lose a preferred video communication service. A blind traveler may have GPS position but not current online transit information. The romantic image of everyone going outside and meeting neighbors assumes that going outside is equally possible for everyone. Mutual aid groups form to fill some gaps. Volunteers deliver groceries, read notices, provide transport, and make regular visits. Local radio broadcasts requests for assistance with permission. These networks create meaningful relationships. Yet they also depend on charity where reliable services once provided independence. Sophia is part of this uneven story. She is healthy, but she lives alone and relied on video calls for companionship. Mara's first letter reaches her after 5 weeks. Sophia's reply arrives 3 weeks later. In it, She describes listening to the same international radio bulletin every evening because knowing Mara may be hearing it too creates a strange feeling of company. The family tries an international telephone call on the first Sunday of the third month. Daniel arranged it through a special booking service at the post office. At the assigned time, they sit around a public telephone in a quiet room. The operator warns them that the connection may last only 5 minutes. The call succeeds. Sophia's voice is faint and delayed. Everyone speaks at once, then laughs, wasting precious seconds. Mara asks about health, food, and neighbors. Sophia asks whether Tomas has grown, a question that makes no sense after only 3 months and still feels exactly like her. When the line ends, Lena is crying. She had spoken to her grandmother hundreds of times by video, without considering the infrastructure involved. 5 minutes of imperfect sound now feels like a major event. The year changes the emotional value of communication by making it scarce. That does not prove scarcity is better. A glass of water feels precious in a drought, but nobody should create droughts to appreciate water. The lesson is not that distance makes relationships deeper. It is that convenience had hidden how extraordinary connection already was. Local relationships change too, although not uniformly. Some neighborhoods become more cooperative. Bulletin boards fill with offers of tools, rides, lessons, and spare produce. People learn who lives behind nearby doors. Children play outside more because online entertainment is limited and parents need shared childcare. Other communities become more isolated. People without strong local ties may have nowhere to go. Families under stress cannot escape into separate digital spaces and may experience more conflict. Domestic abuse can become harder to report when private online channels disappear. Support services establish telephone codes, pharmacy contacts, and in-person routes, but not everyone reaches them. Mara Street organizes a weekly information meeting in the courtyard of an apartment building. At first, only practical matters are discussed: deliveries, repairs, elderly residents, and storm preparation. By the third month, the meetings include a book exchange, childcare, and a rotating meal. Daniel had lived beside some of these people for 9 years without knowing their surnames. Now he knows who can repair a bicycle, who has a generator, who speaks 3 languages, and who needs help carrying groceries upstairs. He also knows who complains at every meeting, who borrows tools without returning them, and which neighbors disagree about almost everything. Community is not a warm advertisement. It is the difficult practice of depending on real people who cannot be muted. Entertainment becomes physical, scheduled, and local. Streaming libraries vanish. Downloaded films and music remain where licenses allow them to play. DVDs, CDs, records, books, board games, offline consoles, and broadcast television gain new value. Movie theaters screen older films when new digital distribution is delayed. Local theater and live music draw larger audiences. Radio becomes culturally powerful again. Listeners discover new music through programs chosen by human hosts rather than personalized algorithms. The same songs are heard by large groups at the same time, creating common reference points. A weekly drama becomes a national event because people cannot watch it whenever they like. Artists lose online audiences and sales, which causes real financial pain. Many had depended on direct digital distribution, crowdfunding, commissions, or self-promotion. Galleries, publishers, labels, theaters, and broadcasters regain influence as gatekeepers. Some artists welcome relief from constant posting. Others lose the independence the internet had given them. Writers send manuscripts by mail. Musicians sell physical recordings after performances. Photographers print work. Community art centers become important. Creative work does not become purer merely because it is offline. It becomes shaped by different institutions, costs, and barriers. Lena begins attending a small music group at school because it is one of the few ways to hear new songs performed by people her age. She had played guitar alone for years, following online tutorials and recording clips she rarely showed anyone. Now another student corrects her hand position, and she learns faster in one afternoon than she expected. She also misses the ability to learn from any teacher in the world. Her local group is patient, but it cannot offer every style or language. The internet had widened access beyond geography. The year brings depth to some local relationships and narrows the range of people available to form them. Books become more visible. Libraries report record use. Used bookshops and informal exchanges grow. People read because books are portable, durable, and complete without a connection. Long-form attention may improve for some simply because fewer competing options are present. But access is unequal here too. A well-funded city library holds millions of volumes. A rural town may have one small room. Digital libraries had allowed a reader in either place to reach the same text. Their disappearance restores the power of physical location. Handwriting returns through necessity. Notes, forms, schoolwork, letters, receipts, and records are written by hand. People become faster and more legible with practice, though many discover how little endurance their hands have. Teachers notice that handwriting and typing encourage different rhythms of thought, but neither method is magically superior for every task. Photographs change more subtly. Phone cameras still work, and storage inside devices remains. What disappears is instant sharing, automatic cloud backup, and the feeling that every image is part of a public stream. People take fewer photographs of some events because there is no audience waiting. They print more because a physical picture can travel in a letter and survive a damaged device. A photograph of Sophia arrives in her second letter. She is standing beside a community garden with two neighbors, holding a basket of tomatoes. Tomas places the picture on the refrigerator. In the connected world, it might have appeared for 3 seconds in a family chat before being buried beneath newer messages. Now it becomes part of the room. By the end of the third month, the family no longer reaches for dead applications every few minutes. The habit has weakened. Their devices remain useful as cameras, clocks, music players, notebooks, calculators, offline maps, and storage. Phones have become powerful pocket computers without a world behind them. The absence feels less shocking. The consequences do not. The fourth month begins with a dangerous illusion. Daily life feels stable enough that people begin to forget how much effort is holding it together. The supermarket shelves are not full, but they are no longer empty. Buses run. Schools have routines. Banks process limited transactions. Hospitals have adapted to paper and local systems. Newspapers arrive. The city appears to have solved the outage. Behind that appearance, thousands of workers are performing tasks once handled automatically. Clerks compare records. Dispatchers make calls. Couriers move documents. Engineers maintain local networks. Warehouse teams count by hand. Governments employ people simply to reconcile versions of information that no longer update together. The economy has replaced digital efficiency with human labor. This creates jobs, but it also raises costs and consumes time. A process that once took seconds may now require 3 people in a day. Society can function, yet it cannot produce the same amount with the same resources. Product variety continues to shrink. A factory that once offered 20 models produces 4. A pharmacy carries fewer brands. Clothing shops keep basic sizes and colors. Repair becomes more common because replacement is uncertain. People wait longer for furniture, appliances, and car parts. The culture of immediate availability begins to disappear. Customers ask not, "Can it arrive tomorrow?" but, "Can it arrive this month?" Businesses stop promising precise dates when they cannot see the whole supply chain. Frustration remains, but expectations change. Daniel's company has become partly a logistics firm and partly an information reconstruction office. Every shipment has at least 3 records, one from the sender, one from the carrier, and one from the receiver. They often disagree. His team spends hours deciding which version is closest to reality. He begins carrying a notebook with the names of people who can solve particular problems. A customs officer at one port, a railway dispatcher in another city, a warehouse supervisor who knows which old parts are still usable. In the connected world, organizations depended on databases. In the disconnected world, they depend more visibly on trusted individuals. This makes relationships powerful and sometimes unfair. A company with the right contacts receives information sooner. A family with a friend at the bank gets an appointment. A hospital with a respected administrator obtains scarce supplies. Informal trust keeps systems moving, but it can also become favoritism. Governments respond by publishing rules and rotating access to limited resources. Some succeed, others become corrupt. The outage magnifies the quality of institutions that existed before it. Places with reliable public services and social trust adapt more smoothly. Places already weakened by conflict, inequality, or corruption suffer more. The disconnected year is global, but it is never one shared experience. In a wealthy city, losing the internet may mean fewer products, unemployment, and long lines. In a remote clinic, it may mean losing access to medical guidance and supply data. In a refugee camp, it may mean families cannot register for aid or contact relatives. In a region where people were already partly offline, daily habits may change less, but the collapse of global finance, remittances, trade, and humanitarian coordination can still be devastating. Communities accustomed to limited connectivity possess useful skills: local radio, cash markets, face-to-face commerce, repair culture, and strong family networks. It would be wrong, however, to romanticize lack of access. Many people wanted the internet because it offered education, banking, market information, healthcare, and a voice beyond local power. Being experienced at deprivation does not make deprivation harmless. Remittances become a major crisis. Millions of households depend on money sent by relatives working abroad. Some transfer systems continue through banking networks and physical agents, but access is slower, fees rise, and records are difficult to reconcile. A worker may have money in one country while their family cannot receive it in another. Humanitarian agencies rebuild communication through radio, satellite, private networks, and field offices. Aid moves, but less efficiently. Duplicate deliveries reach one location while another is missed. The absence of global digital coordination costs lives most severely where margins were already thin. The same pattern appears in medicine. Large urban hospitals create robust regional systems. Small facilities may rely on paper and occasional telephone contact. Specialists travel more because remote consultation is limited. Medical conferences are reorganized around urgent practical exchange. Telemedicine largely disappears, forcing some patients to travel long distances. Home monitoring devices may continue recording locally, but cannot send results. Doctors ask patients to bring devices or printed logs to appointments. This restores direct contact for some and creates barriers for others. Mara notices that the waiting room has become more crowded with people whose conditions could once have been handled remotely. At the same time, some patients arrive earlier because local volunteers check on them. The year removes one pathway to care and strengthens another. Neither reaches everyone. Medication errors remain a concern. Paper records are readable without a network, but can be incomplete, duplicated, or illegible. Local electronic systems improve the situation within the city, yet records do not follow a traveler automatically. Hospitals encourage people to carry medical cards. A new profession appears: record liaison. These workers collect information from clinics, pharmacies, families, and local systems. then assemble verified patient histories. The job is part archivist, part investigator, and part interpreter. It exists because information still exists, but no longer travels on its own. Education also enters a more mature phase. Schools stop treating the outage as a temporary emergency and redesign the curriculum. Students learn research with books, interviews, local archives, experiments, and observation. Teachers print fewer worksheets and use more discussion. Some changes are valuable. Students can no longer copy an answer from the first search result. They must explain where information came from and how certain it is. Classrooms spend more time on oral argument, handwriting, practical projects, and memory. Other losses are significant. A brilliant student in a small town cannot watch a lecture from a leading university. A child learning a minority language cannot easily find speakers or media. Teachers cannot instantly access new materials. Educational inequality grows between schools with rich libraries and those without them. Governments begin moving books physically to underserved regions. Mobile libraries travel by bus. Radio stations broadcast lessons. Universities create printed course packets that can be reproduced locally. These efforts help, but they cannot match the scale and diversity of online knowledge. Lena's class receives an assignment to investigate how the outage changed one local institution. She chooses the hospital and interviews Mara. In the connected world, she would have searched for statistics and assembled a presentation from online sources. Now she listens to nurses, visits the records room, reads printed reports, and watches a courier arrive with laboratory results. The project takes longer. It is also more original. When she presents it, another student asks whether paper systems are safer because they cannot be hacked remotely. Lena answers that they are safer from some threats and weaker against others. A folder can burn. A record can be lost. A person can read it without leaving a digital trace. Resilience comes from copies, procedures, access controls, and people who understand the system, not from choosing paper or computers as though one is always good. The teacher smiles because the student has understood the larger lesson of the year. Libraries become information centers, classrooms, employment offices, and social spaces. Librarians teach people to use directories, government forms, maps, reference books, and local terminals. They also spend much of the day explaining what they cannot retrieve. Interlibrary loans continue by mail and transport. A requested book may take weeks. Readers become more careful about what they request because each item carries a visible cost. The slower process can produce deeper reading, but it also limits exploration. The ability to sample widely was one of the internet's quiet gifts. Museums and archives experience similar contradictions. Physical attendance rises in some places because people seek education and entertainment. Researchers travel to collections that were once available digitally. Homebound people and distant students lose access. Cultural institutions become more locally important and globally less reachable. Broadcast media begins filling the gap with educational programming. Public television schedules science, history, language, and children's lessons. Radio offers call and advice, book readings, concerts, and lectures. A large audience once divided among millions of online choices now gathers around fewer programs. This creates shared culture and concentrated power. A brilliant documentary may be discussed by an entire country. A poor or biased program may dominate because alternatives are limited. The internet had fragmented attention, but it also allowed niche voices to find audiences. The year reveals both sides. Music scenes become intensely local. Bands play in schools, bars, parks, theaters, and community halls. Physical recordings circulate slowly from city to city. Radio hosts decide which songs travel farther. Musicians who once built global audiences from bedrooms must now persuade local rooms one performance at a time. Lena's group plays its first concert in a library courtyard. 40 people attend, including parents, children, and elderly neighbors who would never have found the group online. The performance contains mistakes. Nobody can edit them out. The applause feels different because it comes from bodies in the same air. Afterward, a local radio producer asks the group to record one song. The students spend a week practicing. The broadcast reaches thousands of people they cannot see, restoring a small version of the wonder that digital sharing once made ordinary. Dating changes too, though human attraction needs little help from infrastructure. Apps vanish. People meet through friends, work, school, religious communities, clubs, public events, and chance. Matchmaking services return through newspapers and local agencies. Personal advertisements become popular. For some, this is welcome. Profiles had felt exhausting and transactional. For others, especially people in small communities or minority groups, the loss is severe. Online dating had expanded the pool beyond geography and made it easier to find partners with shared identities or values. The local world can be intimate and limiting at the same time. Long-distance relationships face months of letters and difficult calls. Some become stronger through deliberate communication. Others end because affection cannot overcome uncertainty and distance. Again, the year does not reveal one superior form of love. It reveals what different technologies made possible. Weddings become more local because travel is difficult and live streams are gone. Distant relatives send letters, recordings, or telegram-like messages through special services. Funerals become more painful for families unable to travel or watch remotely. The internet had not replaced physical presence, but it had allowed some presence where none was otherwise possible. Grief has another digital dimension. People cannot reach stored messages, cloud photographs, or memorial pages belonging to someone who died. A voice recording exists somewhere in a data center and remains inaccessible. Families search old devices for local copies. The loss feels like a locked room containing part of a person. Mara keeps every letter from Sophia in a box. She understands why previous generations tied ribbon around correspondence. The object carries time, distance, handwriting, and the knowledge that one particular hand touched the same page. By the 5th month, boredom has returned as a common experience. Waiting rooms are quiet. Train passengers look through windows, read, talk, or do nothing. People stand in queues without feeds to fill every pause. Boredom is not automatically creative or healthy. It can be frustrating, lonely, and especially difficult for people under stress. Yet an unfilled mind sometimes begins generating its own material. Daydreaming, observation, memory, and planning occupy space once filled by external stimulation. Tomas builds a complicated city from cardboard because he has exhausted his offline games. The project covers half his bedroom. It includes a hospital, railway, post office, library, radio tower, and a tiny house for Sophia. When Daniel points out that the city has no data center, Tomas says it does not need one. Later, he adds one anyway. Attention changes through practice. Many people find it easier to read long texts or work without interruption after months away from notifications. Others remain distracted by worry, financial pressure, and crowded homes. The internet was one source of fragmented attention, not the only one. Sleep changes similarly. Some people go to bed earlier because late-night scrolling and streaming are gone. Others sleep worse because they have lost work, contact, or certainty. Screens were not the sole cause of insomnia, and disconnection is not a medicine. The healthiest improvement comes where people preserve useful routines without carrying the year's anxiety into bed. Mara sleeps poorly during hospital shortages. Daniel wakes thinking about shipments. Lena lies awake wondering whether her friends elsewhere are safe. Tomas sleeps deeply and grows. Mental health services rebuild through telephone lines, radio education, local clinics, group meetings, and printed materials. People who once used online therapy may lose continuity with a clinician. Crisis lines remain, but congestion is a problem. In-person care expands where funding allows. Communities discover that digital systems had hidden shortages of human services. When an app or video call disappears, there may be no local therapist, specialist, teacher, translator, or support group waiting underneath. The year becomes an argument for maintaining both remote access and physical capacity. Religion and civic life become more embodied. Congregations gather in person. Choirs, rituals, meals, and community support grow. Homebound members may feel excluded unless volunteers bring recordings, visits, and services to them. Religious radio expands. Some communities become important centers of aid. Others use fear to spread false explanations for the outage. Volunteering rises during the early months, then fatigue sets in. Helping during a short emergency can feel meaningful. Maintaining extra duties for half a year is harder. Volunteers have jobs, families, and limits. Governments that rely too heavily on goodwill discover that resilience needs paid workers and durable institutions. Mara Street meeting becomes less frequent because the immediate crisis has eased. The book exchange remains. So does the shared meal. Several residents stop attending. Others become close friends. Not every emergency habit survives, and not every new relationship disappears. By the 6th month, the disconnected world has built a rough equilibrium. It is poorer, slower, less globally coordinated, and more dependent on location. It contains fewer digital distractions and fewer digital opportunities. It has stronger local networks in some places and deeper isolation in others. It has learned that many services can continue without the global internet, but only by spending more labor, accepting less variety, and leaving some people behind. The year is only halfway over. Then the rebuilding enters a new phase. The engineers working on restoration have spent 6 months doing something the public rarely sees, discovering how much of the internet depended on other parts of the internet. A network operator may have backup equipment, but the configuration manual is stored in a cloud service. A data center has generators, but spare parts are tracked through an online supplier. A company can restore servers, but authentication keys are managed by a distant system. A software package runs locally until it tries to verify a license or download a dependency. A repair team knows which cable is damaged but cannot easily coordinate with the ship, port, insurer, manufacturer, and governments involved. The global internet was decentralized, yet modern services had also become concentrated in large cloud providers, content networks, identity systems, and software supply chains. Decentralization allowed traffic to route around many failures. Concentration made some functions efficient. The year-long outage exposes both structures at once. Submarine cable crews work continuously. In the real world, cable faults happen every year, usually caused by fishing, anchors, geological events, or equipment problems. Specialized ships locate the damaged section, lift it from deep water, splice the fiber, test the connection, and lower it again. A single repair may take weeks depending on weather, distance, permits, and ship availability. Our thought experiment involves damage and failure across many layers, far beyond a normal collection of cable cuts. There are only a limited number of specialized repair vessels. Replacement repeaters, power systems, optical equipment, and landing station components must be manufactured in factories facing their own supply problems. Routes are prioritized according to population, trade, and strategic importance, creating arguments over which regions reconnect first. Terrestrial networks are repaired more quickly in many places. Fiber still lies beneath streets and railway lines. Towers still stand. Routers can be replaced. Local internet exchanges reconnect nearby organizations. These improvements make regional islands faster and more reliable. But the rule of the thought experiment remains. No stable, open global internet yet exists. Satellites help carry essential traffic, but they cannot simply replace the capacity of submarine fiber. Satellite links are valuable for remote areas, ships, emergencies, and selected services. They have limited bandwidth, ground station requirements, delay, cost, and vulnerability to damage or congestion. New satellites are launched, but launches require manufacturing, rockets, tracking, and international coordination. Engineers also face a problem more subtle than broken hardware. The internet is based on trust among systems that identify names, routes, certificates, software, and users. After months of fragmentation, those records have diverged. A company in one city has updated its local database, while another copy remains frozen elsewhere. Two banks may hold different sequences of transactions. A domain name may have been reassigned locally. Security certificates may have expired. Password resets have been processed on paper. Employees have joined or left. Software versions have split. A file may be correct in one region and dangerous in another. Reconnecting everything without reconciling those differences could create chaos. Imagine joining thousands of libraries after each has independently edited the same catalog for a year. The shelves still contain books, but the records no longer agree about titles, owners, loans, or locations. The restoration therefore moves through quarantine. Networks connect to controlled exchange zones where data can be scanned, compared, and verified before broader access is allowed. Critical institutions exchange limited information first. Engineers watch for malware, corrupted updates, fraudulent records, and automated systems that may react unpredictably when they receive a year's backlog. Cybersecurity teams are busy even though global cybercrime fell during the outage. Attackers have had months to prepare malicious software for the day connections return. Some have compromised local networks physically. Others created counterfeit updates and documents. Old vulnerabilities remain unpatched because official updates were unavailable. The moment of reconnection could become the largest attack opportunity in history. Governments establish restoration rules. Critical infrastructure connects through filtered gateways. Hospitals and power systems receive priority, but also stricter testing. Consumer services wait. Companies must prove that local records can be reconciled. Software vendors distribute signed updates on physical media before networks open. The process is frustrating. People can see that cables and servers are working, yet they are still not allowed to browse the world. Officials explain that a functioning link is not the same as a safe network. After half a year of waiting, patience is thin. Conspiracy theories flourish. Some claim the internet has already been restored for elites. In certain cases, that is partly true. Governments, banks, research institutions, and large corporations possess limited international links unavailable to the public. The links carry essential traffic, but secrecy around them damages trust. Activists demand transparent schedules and independent oversight. Engineers begin holding regular radio briefings. They explain route testing, data reconciliation, certificate systems, and security checks in language the public can understand. For the first time, network architecture becomes a subject discussed at dinner tables. Tomas learns what a router does from a children's radio program. He revises his cardboard city again, adding several local networks and one bridge between them guarded by a tiny paper inspector. Daniel tells him the model is surprisingly accurate. During the 7th month, the city allows homes to connect to the municipal intranet through approved providers. The service contains local news, public records, school materials, job listings, a marketplace, maps, and messaging. It feels enormous after months without household connectivity and tiny compared with the former internet. Families receive installation appointments. Older routers work after being reconfigured. Some devices cannot connect because their software requires unreachable servers. Local companies produce simple terminals designed to function entirely within regional networks. The first evening the service reaches Mara's home, everyone gathers around a laptop. Lena opens the local message board and finds hundreds of people she knows. School clubs have pages. Musicians share schedules. A neighborhood forum contains an argument about parking that feels almost comforting in its familiarity. Tomas finds a collection of educational games. Daniel checks port notices. Mara accesses hospital schedules from home for the first time in months. There is no Sophia. The local network restores convenience and revives old habits. Lena begins checking messages repeatedly. Tomas wants more screen time. Daniel brings work home. Mara catches herself reading hospital updates in bed. The family had imagined that a slower life was now part of who they were. A few days of connectivity reveal how quickly behavior can return when the environment invites it. They create rules. No devices during dinner. One screen-free evening each week. Hospital messages only during Mara's on-call periods. The rules are imperfect and frequently broken, but they are chosen rather than imposed by a global failure. This is one of the year's clearest lessons. People often treat digital habits as personal weakness, yet design and availability shape behavior powerfully. When systems disappear, habits change. When systems return, habits return unless something else has been built in their place. Local commerce accelerates. Shops list inventory on the municipal network. Customers reserve products and pay when collecting them. Employers post jobs. Public transport provides updated schedules. Hospitals allow appointment requests. The city becomes more efficient without reconnecting to the world. Neighboring regions create compatible systems, then link them through controlled gateways. A person can send a message to another city after a delay while security filters process it. Regional trade improves. Train schedules coordinate better. Scientific institutions exchange larger data sets. The network islands begin forming a continent-wide structure, but access remains uneven. Some governments build open public systems. Others create tightly controlled national networks. A few require real name registration for every message. The year-long emergency becomes a justification for surveillance that may continue after recovery. Debates that once surrounded the internet return in concentrated form: privacy, anonymity, moderation, misinformation, competition, accessibility, monopoly, and government power. Society had not escaped these questions by losing the old network. It had been given a chance to answer them again. Some places choose public infrastructure modeled like a library or road system. Others allow one corporation to dominate. Open technical standards become politically important because they determine whether networks can eventually interconnect. Engineers argue that compatibility is the path back to a global system. Governments sometimes prefer control to compatibility. The struggle reveals that the internet was never only technology. Its openness depended on agreements, standards, institutions, and a willingness to connect networks under shared rules. Rebuilding hardware is easier than rebuilding that willingness. By the 8th month, shortages begin easing in wealthier regions. Manufacturers have simplified products and created alternative suppliers. Transport systems use new regional networks. Banks reconcile more transactions electronically. Cash remains common, but card payments work inside controlled areas. The financial system faces enormous unresolved balances. During the outage, merchants accepted offline cards, governments issued vouchers, banks processed paper transfers, and communities created local credit. Every record must eventually be compared with account balances. Banks cannot simply apply all transactions at once. Some customers would be pushed deeply into debt by months of delayed charges they believed had already been settled. Some transactions are duplicated, Some records are fraudulent. Some receipts have been lost. Governments establish rules for disputes, limits, and forgiveness. The process becomes political. Who absorbs the losses when records cannot be proven? Banks, merchants, customers, insurers, or taxpayers? There is no mathematically neutral answer. Money returns to being a question of law and trust. Mara's family has kept receipts in envelopes. Daniel has maintained a ledger. Even so, their bank statement contains 2 errors when local electronic access returns. One is corrected after an appointment. The other involves a purchase made during the first week from a store that later closed. The amount is small, and they decide not to spend another day disputing it. Across an entire economy, millions of small uncertainties become a large transfer of wealth. The 8th month also brings a severe heat wave. Electricity grids remain online, but managing demand is harder without fully integrated data. Regional networks allow utilities to coordinate better than during the first months. Radio asks households to reduce consumption in the evening. Factories adjust schedules. Hospitals open cooling centers. Volunteers visit older residents. Local maps show public water points. The response is effective in Mara's city, but other regions with weaker networks suffer more. The event reminds everyone that the outage is not the only crisis the world must manage. Climate, disease, conflict, and ordinary accidents continue. Infrastructure resilience is tested by combinations, not isolated events. A hospital may handle loss of connectivity or a heat wave. Handling both while short of staff and supplies is harder. A supply chain may survive a port delay or a storm. Several disruptions together can cross a threshold. The year teaches planners to stop asking whether one backup exists and start asking how long it lasts, who maintains it, what it depends on, and what happens when the backup faces the same wider crisis. At the hospital, Mara participates in a review of the first 6 months. The staff list failures and unexpected successes. Paper forms ran out too quickly. Some phone numbers were outdated. Local records had not been backed up in readable formats. Younger workers lacked downtime training. Older workers understood manual processes, but sometimes resisted useful new local systems. The successes are equally practical. Visible medical cards prevented errors. Cross-training allowed staff to move between roles. A relationship with Daniel's port team protected supplies. Neighborhood volunteers helped patients reach appointments. The hospital's resilience came from technology, procedure, and social connection together. The review produces a new rule. Every critical digital process must have a tested alternative that can operate for weeks, not hours. Nobody believes the internet will vanish globally again. They no longer accept that impossibility is a plan. Other sectors reach similar conclusions. Banks develop better offline payment methods. Schools maintain printed core materials. Governments update public radio. Businesses keep local copies of essential records. Utilities practice operating with reduced data. Families write down emergency contacts. The disconnected year becomes a worldwide exercise nobody volunteered to join. By the 9th month, culture begins turning the event into story. Novels, songs, plays, and documentaries appear on regional networks and broadcast stations. Some celebrate renewed community. Others describe unemployment, isolation, and failure. Comedy focuses on forgotten passwords, paper forms, terrible directions, and children teaching adults to use local networks. The outage gains symbols. The spinning loading circle becomes an image of the first weeks. A paper map becomes a symbol of adaptation. An envelope becomes a symbol of distance. Repair ships become famous enough that children know their names. Public opinion divides over what should return unchanged. Businesses want global commerce restored quickly. Privacy groups argue that the old model collected too much data. Educators want to preserve local libraries and printed resources. Disability advocates insist that remote services be restored first, not treated as optional conveniences. Workers demand a right to disconnect after learning that constant availability was a choice, not a natural law. Some people say the year proved society was better without the internet. They usually speak from places where food arrived, electricity stayed on, and local support existed. Others say the year proved the internet was as essential as roads. They point to lost healthcare, education, income, and family connection. Both claims are incomplete. The year proved that humans can adapt without global connectivity. It also proved how much suffering that adaptation requires. The 10th month begins with the first successful exchange between two large regional networks on different continents. It is not open to the public. The connection lasts 17 minutes and carries carefully selected technical data, security certificates, medical alerts, weather observations, and restoration records. Engineers on both sides watch every packet. Independent teams compare the information against physical copies. Nothing goes wrong. The event is announced by radio that evening. People cheer in some cities, although most cannot use the connection and may not for weeks. The importance lies in proof. The world can be joined again without immediately recreating the failure. More test links follow. Meteorological agencies exchange larger data sets. International health organizations compare outbreak reports. Banks reconcile selected settlement records. Universities transfer research archives. Cable operators update route information. Each connection is limited, monitored, and temporary. The return of global data creates a new problem. Knowledge from the missing year arrives in uneven bursts. A medical team receives months of research from another continent and discovers that both groups had pursued similar experiments. One result confirms the other. Another reveals that a treatment used regionally has a rare side effect not yet noticed locally. Weather agencies compare records and improve seasonal models. Economists finally see the true scale of trade disruption. Families are not included yet, and the exclusion is emotionally difficult. Mara knows that technical files can cross the ocean while she still cannot send Sophia a message. Officials insist that essential systems must be tested before public traffic opens. She understands the reason and resents it anyway. The post office announces that international mail is moving faster because transport coordination has improved. Sophia's letters begin arriving every 2 weeks instead of every 2 months. Their contents have become ordinary: a leaking tap, a neighbor's birthday, a book she enjoyed, a complaint about radio presenters. Ordinary detail is what Mara had missed most. At school, Lena's class debates whether the restored internet should look exactly like the one that disappeared. Students propose limits on targeted advertising, stronger public digital libraries, offline access requirements, and rights to repair devices without distant authorization. Others argue that too many restrictions would slow innovation and rebuild the network as a controlled public utility. The discussion becomes heated because the students have lived on both sides. They remember what online life offered and what its disappearance cost. They also remember evenings when nobody could retreat into a feed. Their teacher asks one question: which changes should be personal choices and which should be built into systems? The class becomes quieter. It is easy to promise that everyone will use technology wisely. It is harder to decide what companies, governments, schools, and network designers owe the public. The question appears everywhere. Should essential devices work offline by law? Should hospitals be required to keep local copies of critical records? Should banks offer reliable offline payments? Should public information remain available through radio and print? Should software licenses survive a network failure? Should social platforms allow users to export memories and messages into formats they can keep? The year has turned technical architecture into public policy. A product that fails without a connection is no longer seen as merely inconvenient. Dependence itself has become a design choice requiring justification. Companies announce new products built around resilience. Phones include larger offline maps and local messaging. Home routers can join neighborhood emergency networks. Medical devices store readable records. Cars retain essential functions without remote authentication. Schools maintain local learning servers. Banks develop secure limited-value payments that can be reconciled later. Some promises are sincere. Others are marketing. The public has learned enough to ask for demonstrations. During the 11th month, controlled public gateways open in a few regions. Users can access a small set of international services through queues and strict limits. Government information, health alerts, research, and family messaging receive priority. Video is largely blocked because bandwidth remains scarce. Mara's city schedules each household for 2 10-minute international message sessions per week at first. The family prepares its message to Sophia as though composing a telegram. Everyone wants to say too much. They finally send 4 lines. We are safe. We have every letter. Lena played on the radio. Tomas built a city. We love you. The reply arrives 20 minutes later. I know. I heard the song on an international rebroadcast. My tomatoes survived. I love you too. The speed is almost shocking. Months of waiting have compressed into 20 minutes. Tomas asks whether this means the internet is back. Daniel explains that a doorway has opened, but the building behind it is still being repaired. Public gateways expose another challenge: demand. Billions of people want to contact family, retrieve records, check accounts, access work, and recover memories. Even restored infrastructure cannot carry the sudden flood safely. Traffic is rationed. Video and large downloads wait. Text and essential data move first. Some people receive devastating news. Messages written months earlier finally arrive from relationships that ended, employers that closed, and relatives who died. Digital accounts reopen like sealed rooms. The restoration is not only reunion, it is delayed grief. A man discovers hundreds of messages sent while he was unreachable by a friend who became ill. A family retrieves photographs from a cloud archive after losing their home in a fire. A business finds customer orders placed before the outage that can no longer be fulfilled. A student opens an admissions decision for a program whose term has already ended. Time inside digital systems had stopped unevenly. Reconnection allows the past to arrive without respecting the present. Data centers come back online in stages. Some services return exactly where they left off. Others have lost synchronization, suffered hardware failure, or closed as companies collapsed. User accounts may exist without the company that once maintained them. Websites return with missing months. Links point to empty places. The internet has always contained decay, but it once hid that decay behind constant replacement. After a year of silence, the missing pieces become visible. Search engines rebuild indexes. News archives ingest printed stories from the disconnected year. Libraries digitize emergency notices, radio transcripts, photographs, and personal diaries. Historians warn that the record will be uneven. Wealthy institutions preserve more. Communities without stable storage may leave little trace. People begin donating letters to local archives. Some families refuse, wanting the year to remain private. Both choices shape history. The restoration also renews surveillance and commerce. Advertisers want to understand how habits changed. Platforms offer rewards for returning. Employers restore remote monitoring. Governments keep some emergency identity systems. Citizens who welcomed global connection do not automatically welcome every institution that returns with it. The first popular international social platform to reopen limits itself to text and small images. Within hours, people are posting reunion messages, jokes, political arguments, rumors, advertisements, and complaints about the platform. The emotional range of humanity returns faster than the infrastructure. Lena opens her old account and sees the profile she had built before the outage. The photographs, captions, and opinions feel as though they belong to a younger version of herself, even though only 11 months have passed. She spends an hour reading old messages. Then she closes the account without deleting it. Her friends ask why. She says she is not sure yet. Daniel's work changes immediately when international logistics data returns. The paper maps remain on the walls, but live container positions begin appearing again. Orders move faster. Errors become easier to detect. Staff who spent months reconstructing information worry that their temporary roles will disappear. The company decides to keep a smaller resilience team. It also restores much of the automation that made the old system efficient. Human labor had protected the company during crisis. Once the crisis fades, the cost of that labor becomes visible again. This pattern repeats across the economy. Postal hiring slows. Printing orders decline. Call centers shrink. Local intermediaries lose business to restored global platforms. Some workers return to old careers. Others face a second disruption, this time caused by reconnection. The disconnected year created new winners and losers. The connected year will create them again. Local shops fear online competition. Some have gained loyal customers and survive. Others cannot match global prices once digital marketplaces return. Community radio loses audience to streaming. Live venues compete with unlimited entertainment. Libraries remain busy, though slightly less crowded. The garden on Mara Street continues because vegetables and friendship still have value after supply chains recover. Education adopts a hybrid model. Students regain digital research, online courses, accessibility tools, and international collaboration. Schools keep printed core materials and local servers. Teachers preserve some oral presentations, experiments, and library work developed during the outage. Not every improvement lasts. Photocopied worksheets multiply because they are convenient in a new way. Students quickly rediscover shortcuts. Teachers quickly rediscover online distractions. Institutions are made of habits, and habits rarely transform permanently from one lesson. Healthcare reconnects cautiously. Patient records are merged. Remote consultations resume. Pharmacies verify prescriptions. Hospitals compare a year's local data with national systems. Duplicate files and conflicting histories require human review. Mara is relieved when she can retrieve records from another region in seconds. She is also startled by how quickly the screens reclaim attention. During one consultation, she realizes she has spent several minutes looking at a record rather than the patient. She turns the monitor slightly aside and asks the patient to continue. The gesture is small. The year survives through small gestures. Weather forecasting improves as global observations flow normally. Aviation schedules expand. International tourism returns slowly. Scientific collaborations accelerate. Families begin making travel plans. Relief becomes visible in airport halls and railway stations. Space missions and satellites had never depended only on the public internet, but their ground organizations suffered from supply and coordination problems like everyone else. As networks recover, delayed launches are rescheduled, data archives reopen, and international teams reconnect. Humanity had continued looking upward during the year, though more slowly. The global economy begins growing again before the full year ends. Reconnection releases delayed trade and investment. Yet recovery is not a return to the same starting point. Debt has increased. Businesses have failed. Careers have changed. Education has been interrupted. Medical conditions worsened. Relationships were lost and formed. Inequality has deepened in many regions. A restored network cannot restore time. On day 358, officials announced that the public global internet will reopen fully 1 week later. The date is chosen to allow final security updates and coordination. The announcement produces celebration, dread, and an unusual amount of advice. Change passwords. Update devices from trusted sources. Expect delays. Verify financial records. Watch for fraud. Do not assume every old service still exists. Backup important information locally. Contact vulnerable relatives before networks become congested. Families plan reconnection gatherings the way people once planned holidays. Businesses prepare campaigns. Broadcasters schedule farewell programs for the disconnected era. Newspapers print special editions. Libraries display the notices from day 1 beside the announcement from day 358. Mara's family makes a different plan. On the final evening, they eat with neighbors in the courtyard. The music group performs. Tomas exhibits the completed cardboard city, now containing local networks, guarded gateways, undersea cables, satellites, a radio station, and a post office larger than the school. Sophia listens through an international audio link that is still rationed but stable. Her voice plays from a speaker on the table. She tells Tomas the post office should be even larger. The neighbors speak about what they will do first. One will call a son abroad. One will check a business account. A teenager wants to download every song released during the year. An elderly man says he intends to do nothing because the internet can wait one more day. At midnight, the global network does not return with a flash. Engineers open routes gradually. Systems announce paths. Name servers synchronize. Traffic moves through gateways into wider networks. Monitoring rooms fill with numbers rising. At 12:04, Daniel's phone vibrates. Then every phone in the courtyard begins making sounds people have not heard for a year. Messages arrive out of order. Some are ancient. Some were sent seconds ago. Applications request updates. Calendars fill. News alerts announce the restoration everyone is already watching happen. Devices feel suddenly alive and slightly aggressive. Mara opens the video service used to call Sophia. The application updates twice and asks her to accept new terms. The family laughs at the absurdity. Then Sophia's face appears. For a moment, nobody speaks. Video had once seemed like a poor substitute for being in the same room. After a year, it feels almost impossible. They can see the changed length of hair, the new lines around eyes, the kitchen behind her, the tomatoes resting on a shelf. Tomas holds the cardboard city up to the camera. Sophia tells him to move it farther back because she cannot see the whole thing. The call lasts 2 hours. Across the world, similar reunions occur. Children meet relatives they know only from letters. Friends see one another's faces. Researchers exchange data. Companies reopen. Patients reach specialists. Migrants speak to families. People recover photographs, music, documents, and communities. The return is not universally joyful. Some receive no answer. Some discover that an online home disappeared. Some feel immediate anxiety as feeds, demands, and comparisons rush back. Some had built safer lives away from digital harassment and now face it again. Networks carry human intention. Restoring the network restores both the help and the harm. During the first week online, traffic breaks records. Video quality falls under demand. Fraud attempts surge. False stories spread claiming new outages, stolen accounts, and secret causes. Security teams block attacks prepared during the year. Banks receive millions of disputes. Customer service lines remain overwhelmed. People also create enormous digital memorials. Names of those who died during the disconnected year are collected. Letters are scanned with permission. Radio programs are archived. Photographs of local notice boards and community gardens circulate globally. The world begins telling itself what happened. The stories disagree. One documentary calls it the year humanity found itself again. Another calls it the largest preventable humanitarian disaster of the digital age. One family remembers board games. Another remembers a medicine that never arrived. One worker remembers freedom from constant messages. Another remembers losing a livelihood. A truthful history contains all of them. What, then, would actually happen if the internet disappeared for a year? Civilization would not instantly end. Electricity, transport, agriculture, broadcast media, offline computers, dedicated networks, and human institutions would continue. People lived full lives before the internet, and many communities still manage with limited access. But modern society could not simply rewind to 1985. The world of that time had more paper records, more local staff, more physical branches, more printed books, more traditional telephone infrastructure, and industries designed around slower communication. We removed many of those systems as digital alternatives became normal. Losing the internet would therefore be less like traveling into the past and more like trying to operate the present with one of its central coordination systems removed. The first months would bring financial disruption, unemployment, shortages, delayed healthcare, weaker communication, and deep inequality. Governments and communities would adapt. Local networks, radio, paper, couriers, private links, and human relationships would replace parts of what was lost. By the middle of the year, life would feel recognizable again, but it would be slower, more expensive, more local, and less equal. Some people would sleep more, read more, know neighbors better, and feel relief from constant comparison. Others would lose independence, distant relationships, education, income, or access to care. The same disappearance would be liberation, inconvenience, and disaster depending on the person and place. By the end, the world would not choose between internet and no internet. It would understand the need for a better internet and stronger alternatives. Essential systems would keep local copies and tested offline procedures. Devices would be expected to perform basic functions without remote permission. Public radio, libraries, local journalism, and physical services would regain value. Offline payments, emergency communications, and accessible local support would receive investment. People would be more aware that a cloud is another person's computer and that convenience can become dependency without anyone noticing the moment it happens. Would people keep slower habits after reconnecting? Some would. Most would keep only a few. Convenience is powerful. Video calls are genuinely wonderful. Search is useful. Online learning expands opportunity. Remote work can transform lives. Global communities can rescue people from isolation. Digital systems make medicine, logistics, science, and government more capable. The lesson would not be to reject the internet. It would be to stop confusing usefulness with inevitability. A system can be essential and still deserve criticism. A technology can connect the world and still require boundaries. A service can be convenient and still need a backup. A device can be smart and still be designed to work when the connection is gone. 1 year without the internet would teach humanity the difference between choosing to disconnect and being disconnected by force. Choosing an evening without a phone can be restful. Losing contact with a parent across an ocean is not. Choosing to shop locally can strengthen a community. Losing access to medicine is not. Choosing to read a printed book can deepen attention. Losing a digital library because no physical copy exists is not. Freedom includes the ability to connect and the ability to step away. The final change might be the most personal. After living through scarcity, people would understand that the ordinary act of sending a message across the world is not ordinary at all. Light travels through glass beneath oceans. Routers cooperate across organizations and borders. Satellites keep time. Engineers repair faults. Standards allow machines built by strangers to understand one another. Millions of quiet decisions make one familiar voice appear. A week after the restoration, Mara calls Sophia again. The video is clear. Nobody is timing them. Lena joins for a few minutes and leaves to meet friends. Tomas shows a new building added to the cardboard city. Daniel answers a work message, then notices what he is doing and puts the phone away. The conversation becomes ordinary. That is what they wanted. Outside, the city moves at its restored speed. Deliveries are tracked. Maps reroute traffic. Hospitals exchange records. Students search libraries larger than any building. Musicians upload songs. Newspapers update. Families send photographs. The global nervous system of information is awake again. Yet one evening each week, Mara's family turns the home network off. They do not pretend the disconnected year was good. Too much was lost. They do not pretend life without the internet was more authentic. Human life was authentic in every form it took. They keep the evening because it reminds them that attention can be directed, not merely captured. Sometimes they read. Sometimes the children complain. Sometimes Daniel and Mara talk. Sometimes everyone becomes bored and goes to bed early. The ritual is neither revolutionary nor perfect. It is a choice. Tonight, the real internet is still present around you. Undersea cables are carrying light. Data centers are humming. Routers are exchanging paths. Engineers are watching systems most people will never see. Somewhere, a message is crossing an ocean before the sender has time to wonder how. You do not need to repair any of it tonight. You do not need to imagine the full weight of a year without it any longer. The question has carried us through hospitals, ports, schools, radio studios, libraries, gardens, letters, local networks, repair ships, and one kitchen table waiting for a face to return. It has shown us both the strength of human adaptation and the danger of depending on systems we rarely understand. Now the network can fade into the background again. Your phone can remain a quiet object. The messages can wait. The world will continue exchanging its endless streams of information without your attention for a while. Your body is much older than any network. It knows the slower system of breath, warmth, darkness, and rest. It does not need a password. It does not need a signal. It only needs permission to stop responding. So let the connected world continue outside the room. Let every unfinished search remain unfinished. Let the last imagined notification disappear before it arrives. And for the rest of this night, allow yourself to be unreachable. Sleep well.